You don't have low self-esteem. Your soul is burnt out from giving all of yourself away, from impossible demands on yourself, from futile attempts to find a trace of self-love in the mirror, and finding nothing. And it's not that you don't want to heal, but that no one taught you. What you call low self-esteem is actually shattered energy. This is an emotional field littered with invisible wounds, pieces of your soul that never made it back home, and a vibration that has long sustained what no longer resonates with you. Today, I will lead you out of that state where you constantly feel not good enough, where you are ruthless with yourself, where you put on a confident facade while inside there's an emptiness, pushed to the very point where you finally realize you don't need motivation, you need a complete reboot, a return to yourself, the restoration of your energy, and the awakening of your true essence. This video won't tell you to love yourself. It will teach you how to stop betraying yourself. And that is true self-love. You don't have low self-esteem. Your emotional energy is broken. You look in the mirror and feel something is wrong with you. You can't quite explain it, but it's as if you've forgotten who you truly are. You repeat motivational phrases, read books on self-love, say affirmations you don't believe in, and still, deep down, a heaviness remains, a part of you that continues to feel worthless. And then you call it low self-esteem, as if it's all down to wrong perception, as if the problem is only in your head and can be fixed with positive thinking. But understand, it's not about your self-esteem, not your mind, but your energy, your emotional field, your deepest vibration, broken, wounded, disconnected. Carl Jung explained it with blunt but true words. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And this is exactly what you need to do now. Stop treating your pain as a mental glitch, and start seeing it for what it truly is, an energetic rupture, formed sometime in your history and still unhealed. It's not that you don't love yourself, but you're lost among so many broken versions of yourself that you no longer know how to return to your true self. Your self-esteem isn't low. It's buried under layers of wear and tear, emotional betrayals, excessive demands, and self-denial. You are not weak. You are not inherently insecure. You are not fragile just because. You're carrying the weight of unfinished emotional cycles, unshed tears, a love deficit that no one replenished. And all of this is stuck in your energetic field. That's why you can't see yourself, why you can't recognize yourself, why, no matter how hard you try, you feel that self-love doesn't reach you. Let me tell you a story. Mary was a smart, attractive, strong woman, but she felt broken. No matter her achievements, no matter how many people told her she was valuable, she felt none of it belonged to her. Once, during a deep processing session, her therapist didn't ask what she was thinking. He asked, "Where do you feel you are not present?" And she tearfully replied, "I feel like I left, like I haven't been with myself for years." And that was the truth. It wasn't about her self-esteem, but her energy. Her soul was fractured in all those places where she wasn't seen. Her emotional field kept resonating with all those times she gave her all but wasn't chosen. And so, though she worked on her mind, her body continued to remember the wound. This is what's happening to you. You've tried to love yourself with logic, but your wound isn't rational. It's vibrational, energetic, emotional. You don't need to repeat phrases in front of the mirror. You need to reclaim those parts of yourself you left behind. In childhood, where you didn't feel good enough. In relationships, where you gave everything and got little in return. In moments when you were ignored, and you learned to be silent, so as not to bother. In every connection where you emptied yourself, expecting someone to complete you. Your energy isn't bad. It's fragmented, unfocused. It's asking you to return. What does broken energy look like? You constantly doubt yourself, even knowing your worth. You sabotage yourself right before achieving something important. It feels like no one sees you the way you see others. You repeat relationships where you give more than you receive. You believe that to be chosen, you have to prove, strive, give your all. None of this is accidental. It's an emotional pattern your energy learned to sustain. And the cruelest part is, you didn't choose it. It was imposed on you by experiences that left an imprint on your deepest vibration. Carl Jung spoke of making the unconscious conscious, and your task isn't to boost self-esteem with empty phrases. Your task is to go to the place where your energetic field was broken and reclaim those parts of yourself that learned to survive, but not to live. Because that's what you're doing today. Emotionally surviving. Functional but disconnected. Active but exhausted. Strong but internally empty. And this isn't solved by motivation. It's solved by reconnection. You don't need to convince yourself you're valuable. You need to return to yourself, feel yourself again, re-inhabit your body, re-inhabit your energy. Because your self-esteem isn't lost. It was just overshadowed by everything you've experienced and haven't yet let go. And when you start clearing this emotional field, when you start healing your energy, when you return to those parts of yourself you left in broken relationships, past scenes, painful decisions, you'll begin to recognize yourself. And then self-love will stop being a goal. It will become your home. Your emotional field still holds unacknowledged wounds. You think you've overcome a lot, that those relationships are in the past, that you no longer care about what happened with your mother, that a certain betrayal no longer hurts, that the version of you who felt lonely, broken, or abandoned has healed. And perhaps your mind believes this. Perhaps you say, I've already worked through that. But there's something that doesn't align with this thought. Your energy, your emotional field, your invisible body, that vibrational space where unreleased emotions are still alive. Carl Jung understood this with striking clarity. The unconscious does not forget, it merely changes form. And you haven't forgotten. You've just hidden it. You don't see it, but you feel it. You feel it when you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. You feel it when someone doesn't reply, and your mind spirals. You feel it when you're praised, and you don't believe it. You feel it when you're about to be happy, and something inside you sabotages it. What's activated isn't weakness. It's unresolved emotional memory. It's your energetic field speaking to you, showing that parts of you are still vibrating at the frequency of the wound. How are these distortions in your energy created? From a very young age. When you weren't comforted when you cried. When they didn't believe you when you said, I'm hurting. When they didn't stay. When you were required to be strong, silent, functional. When you learned you had to do something to be noticed. Each of these experiences didn't just stay in your mind. It imprinted on your energy. And this emotional body, which you don't see but feel, kept moving forward with thousands of invisible cracks that today manifest as low self-esteem, anxiety, insecurity, a need for approval, emotional dependency. Let me tell you Alex's story. Alex was a talented programmer, the life of the party. But inside, he felt extremely vulnerable. Every time he entered a new relationship or started an important project, an inexplicable anxiety gripped him. Though rationally he knew everything was fine. For years, he chalked it up to personality quirks, until, at a bodywork workshop, he was asked, "What past situation makes your body react this way now?" And then it all clicked. He saw himself as a little boy, constantly criticized by a strict father for the slightest mistake. He saw himself as a teenager, mocked by peers. He saw himself as a young man who endured a painful breakup. All these memories lived in his energetic field, And until he let them go, he kept reacting to the world from a state of old pain, not from his adult self. This is what's happening to you. It's not that you're not valuable, but that you're vibrating at the frequency of wounds you haven't cleared. Your emotional field is still tied to what you couldn't say, what you endured so as not to lose, what you gave without receiving in return, what you suppressed for fear of appearing weak, what you swallowed to avoid rocking the boat. And all of this continues to speak from within you. Every time someone doesn't value you, this unhealed part activates. It's not the conscious adult reacting, it's the wounded child, the abandoned teenager. It's the broken woman who was never truly seen. Carl Jung explained it this way: everything that we do not bring to consciousness appears in our life as fate. And you've experienced this. You feel like you're repeating the same patterns, attracting the same kind of people, that no matter how much you advance, something throws you back. It's not your fault. It's your emotional frequency. It's that energetic field that continues to filter your perception, limit your self-awareness, sabotage your worth. And until you free yourself from these burdens, you'll keep seeing yourself through the eyes of the wound, the eyes of trauma, the eyes of the past. What does it take to break this? Before affirming yourself, you need to empty yourself. Empty yourself of burdens that aren't yours. Empty yourself of memories you no longer want to sustain. Empty yourself of old stories that don't define you. You're not worthless. You're someone still vibrating as if you are worthless. And this can be changed not with the mind, but with energy, through inner forgiveness, genuine emotional expression, vibrational boundaries, reprogramming your field through presence, self-love, and truth. You can start doing this today. Today, you can decide to look at your history with new eyes and release every part of yourself that still vibrates with pain. When you do this, you'll notice something incredible. You'll feel lighter. You'll stop chasing approval. You'll reclaim your intuition. You'll inhabit your body differently. And then, what you used to call low self-esteem will disappear, because it wasn't a lack of self-love, but a fragmented emotional field, and you've just begun to rebuild it. The way you talk to yourself, that's not your voice. It's your wound speaking for you. I'm a total nobody. I'm worthless. No one will stay with me. Who would want someone like me? I'm not that special. I mess everything up. You don't say these phrases out loud. You think them, repeat them, keep them silent, as if they are absolute, unshakable truths, as if this voice inside you is your authentic essence. But it's not. That voice is not you. That voice is your wound, your shadow, your unconscious emotional history, speaking to you with the same words that once broke you. Carl Jung showed this clearly. The personal unconscious is formed from what we repress, what we keep silent about, what we couldn't bear. And your inner dialogue is full of this: unspoken words, unexpressed emotions, beliefs you absorbed without question. And now you talk to yourself from there, from pain, from self-betrayal, from an emotional distortion that doesn't belong to you, but that you keep repeating. Do you know what's most powerful about this? The longer you listen to this voice, the more you believe you are this broken version of yourself. And from this version, it's impossible to build true self-love. Because how will you love yourself if you constantly tell yourself you're not enough? How will you set boundaries if you believe you don't deserve more? How will you sustain your energy if your own inner voice sabotages it daily? Let me tell you Sarah's story. Sarah was a successful designer. She had interesting projects, recognition, a striking appearance, charisma. But inside, she felt tiny. Every time something good happened to her, she devalued it, saying, "Probably just luck. Nothing special. Anyone could do that." And every time someone pulled away, she thought, "Of course, who would stay with someone like me?" For years, she thought it was modesty, but it wasn't modesty. It was pain. In one deep session, her coach told her, "This voice that speaks to you this way, who taught it to you?" And then she saw. This voice belonged to her mother when she compared her to others. It belonged to her father when he didn't acknowledge her. It belonged to her ex-partners when they devalued her. It belonged to her teacher when she said, "You can do better." It wasn't her voice. It was her wound. This is what you, too, need to understand today. Your inner dialogue isn't neutral. It's emotionally conditioned. It's a reflection of what you haven't yet integrated. You criticize yourself not just because. You criticize yourself because someone once did, and your mind absorbed it as a pattern of self-perception. And until you make this conscious, you'll keep talking to yourself with phrases born not of love, but of a wound. How to change this, according to Jung? Jung said the first step isn't to eliminate the shadow, but to see it, acknowledge it, integrate it. And this also applies to your inner voice. The goal isn't to force yourself to think positively, but to ask yourself questions. Every time a destructive phrase appears, would someone who loves me say this? Is this my truth? Or is it an echo of something that hurt me? Is this voice caring for me or punishing me? When you ask these questions, you interrupt the pattern and gradually stop identifying with this toxic narrative. Your true self-love begins when you stop talking to yourself the way those who didn't know how to love you did. It begins when you consciously choose to change the tone, the emotion, the intention. Not to inflate your ego, not to deny yourself, but to restore your energy with a new language. Because words aren't just words, they are vibration. And every time you speak cruelly to yourself, you destroy your emotional field from within. And every time you speak to yourself with compassion, even if it's uncomfortable at first, you rebuild yourself, support yourself, teach your system that it no longer needs cruelty to function. Do this exercise. Next time you criticize yourself, imagine saying it to your inner child. Would you tell her she's worthless? Would you tell her she always messes things up? Would you tell her no one will love her? Then don't say it to yourself, because that child is still inside, still listening, still waiting for someone to look at her with love. And that someone now is you. Carl Jung taught that until you make it conscious, it will repeat, and you will call it fate. Today is the moment to break this fate, to stop being a victim of an inner voice that isn't yours, and to start creating a new frequency of truth. It's not about lying to yourself, but about choosing to speak to yourself from your most conscious part, not your most broken one. Restoring self-love isn't motivation, it's retuning your energy. Today, you're told that for self-love, you need affirmations, to look in the mirror with confidence, to believe in yourself, value yourself, make gratitude lists, boost self-esteem with positive phrases. But I'll tell you something perhaps no one has dared to say so directly. You don't need motivation. You need restoration. Motivating yourself without fixing what's broken is like painting a house with cracks in its foundation. It will look beautiful on the outside, but any earthquake will destroy it again. And that's what's been happening to you. You repeated self-love phrases. You tried to be strong. You tried to convince yourself, but one unreceived message, one comparison, one rejection, and everything crumbles. It's not that affirmations don't work, but they're powerless if your emotional field is still fragmented. Carl Jung knew this well. What is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. What is not accepted cannot be transformed. And you can't build true self-love on an energetic vibration that still carries abandonment, shame, betrayal, guilt, or fear. So what do you really need? to retune your energy from the very root. And this is done not with words, but with vibrational awareness, emotional connection, new energetic decisions, small and sustained, that send a different signal to the universe and your body. Let me tell you Olivia's story. Olivia had been working on personal growth for many years. She knew a lot, read, did affirmations, practiced yoga, spoke beautifully, but inside, she continued to feel lonely, fragile, self-doubting. Every time someone didn't value her, she fell apart and didn't understand why. Until one night, completely exhausted, she sat in silence and asked herself a single question. What part of myself do I keep leaving overboard every time I try to heal? And the answer came as an image. A small, broken, forgotten version of herself was looking at her from a corner. Olivia hadn't included her wound in her process. She tried to silence it, cover it up, decorate it, but never supported it, never integrated it, never truly sat with it. Then she understood. She didn't need motivation. She needed to retune her energy from emotional truth. And the real process began. How to retune your emotional field. Not with phrases, but with subtle yet firm actions that prove to your energy it's no longer alone, that you no longer need to give up, chase love, or assert yourself at the expense of the external world. There are keys that truly transform from within. First, daily presence with your energetic body. Don't avoid silence. Don't run from emptiness, because your body stores everything you haven't processed. Dedicate 10 minutes a day to breathe, close your eyes, and feel yourself. Not to fix, not to correct, just to feel. Because when you inhabit your energetic field, you no longer abandon it. Then, an emotional response is important. Every time you think, I'm worthless, I'm not enough, I won't be chosen, stop that frequency and answer yourself as you would someone you love. I am here for myself. I don't need to be perfect to be worthy. I don't need to prove anything. Do this even if you don't believe it. You're doing it not for the mind, but for the energy accustomed to abandonment. Next, a vibrational boundary is necessary. Make a clear list of everything you're no longer willing to sustain. One-sided connections, tangled relationships, constant inner criticism, putting yourself last to please others, and say, my energy no longer supports this. My self-love no longer vibrates in deficit. This is a decree. It retunes your field. It changes your frequency. And finally, practice the act of self-support. Every time you have an impulse to seek approval, stop. Every time you're about to over-explain, choose silence. Every time you're about to betray yourself for fear of another pulling away, return to your center. Because restoring self-love isn't about elevating yourself. It's about no longer falling into the same pit. Carl Jung said, the soul needs images it can live with. Give your soul a new image of yourself, an image of calm, wholeness, vibrational strength, energetic dignity, not from ego, but from your truth. You didn't come here to pretend to be confident. You came to live in harmony, and this is achieved only when you stop motivating yourself to feel better and start supporting yourself even when you're not okay. This is true reconstruction, not about seeming strong, but about learning not to abandon yourself anymore. After you've understood the origins of your wound, seen your broken energy, silenced the voice that was never yours, and begun to rebuild yourself from the soul, the most important part remains. Learning to sustain this new vibration. Turn your self-love into daily action and live as one who no longer abandons herself. Because real change isn't about understanding yourself better, but about stop betraying yourself with the same decisions. Carl Jung said, There is no coming to consciousness without pain, but this pain can also be the beginning of your liberation. And that's what you're doing today, moving out of the pain of not loving yourself enough to enter a stage where your energy is no longer available for what used to break you. How is a restored energetic field sustained? Not from the emotion of the moment, not from temporary motivation, but from conscious vibrational choices. Choices that teach your body, your soul, and the universe that you are no longer in the same energetic place. This is where true transformation begins. First, be radically honest with yourself. Self-justification breaks you again. Every time you rationalize a betrayal, every time you understand something that's not good for you, every time you downplay your pain for fear of seeming dramatic, you abandon yourself again. From now on, be honest with your energy. If something hurts, say it. If something doesn't vibrate with you, let it go. If a version of you no longer fits, say goodbye to it. Because being strong isn't enduring. It's stop supporting what breaks you. Second, activate a daily vibrational shield. Your energy needs protection, not from enemies, but from your own old patterns that might seek you out again each morning. Repeat this decree. My energy is available only for what honors me. I choose myself, even when no one chooses me. I support myself, even when no one supports me. And my presence is no longer negotiable. This isn't a mantra. It's armor, a commitment to yourself. Because if you don't repeat it to yourself, the world will come to remind you of the old version, the one that no longer vibrates with you. Third, cleanse your energetic environment as you clean your home. Start externally what you want to sustain internally. What in your room connects you to who you were? What social media do you follow that lowers your vibration? What conversations do you sustain that make you doubt yourself? Your emotional field gets polluted by accumulation. You don't need explosions to break, just continuing to coexist with little things that gradually extinguish you. Today, cleanse your space, your surroundings, your connections, because the energy that surrounds you is what sustains your new frequency. Then, integrate a routine of returning to yourself. You don't need complicated routines, just a daily practice that reminds you who you are. It could be a 10-minute walk alone without music, writing a phrase upon waking that activates your center, or sitting in silence, hand on heart, saying, I am here. I will not abandon myself anymore. Your self-love isn't shouted. It's practiced, honored, sustained, and every time you choose not to leave yourself behind, your vibrational field aligns. And from there, everything that comes into your life no longer breaks you, but reflects, nourishes, respects. And finally, allow what doesn't resonate to leave without explanation. This is one of the biggest challenges. People who distance themselves when they can no longer control you. Connections that cool when you no longer yield as before. Opportunities that disappear when you decide to prioritize yourself. It's not rejection. It's an energetic clearing. When you restore your energy, everything that doesn't vibrate with your truth begins to leave. Don't fight to hold on to it. Don't explain your changes. Don't apologize for growing. Just look at it with compassion and say, this is me now, and I will no longer break myself to fit into anything that doesn't celebrate me. Carl Jung said, freedom begins when you stop trying to be what you are not, and you've spent enough time forcing versions of yourself that no longer represent you. Too many years dimming your light, not to inconvenience others. Too many times adjusting your energy to be loved. But no more. Today, your energy is no longer broken. It's restored and ready to choose you. Once, again, and as many times as it takes. Now you know. It wasn't that you had low self-esteem, but that your energy was broken. Your emotional field is full of cracks, your history loaded with unintegrated fragments, and your heart waited for someone else to choose you so you could recognize yourself. But you're not in that place anymore. Today, you've faced what made you disconnect from yourself. Today, you've named your pain. Today, you've decided to stop dwelling in the wound and start living from your new vibration. Because loving yourself isn't talking about it. It's never abandoning yourself again. It's no longer breaking yourself to fit in. It's no longer choosing others over yourself. Your self-love won't be perfect, but today, it will be real. And what's real is sustained, not forced, not begged for. Today is the day you stop fighting for worth and start living it. And to anchor this new energy in your body, your emotional field, and your vibration, declare it right now in the comments. Today, I restore myself. Today, I choose myself. Today, I return to myself. Make it a decree. Make it a vibration. Make it truth. Because from today, your energy is no longer broken. It's awakened and ready to love you as no one else ever can, from within you. If this message resonated with your soul, it's time to take the next step. Subscribe now to continue raising your vibration with each new video. Give this content a thumbs up so more souls can hear what liberated you today. Share this video with those you know also need to let go to heal. And, of course, leave your declaration in the comments so this message anchors in your energy. But most importantly, don't go yet. Here on the screen, I'll leave a video that continues this path of transformation. Click and continue to delve deeper, because your soul has already begun this journey and deserves to complete it. As always, this was Gabriel, your favorite psychologist and philosopher. See you there.